there's times I get bored of it and then I get distracted, but it always comes back to I start feeling unfulfilled. And then I look at the bank account. And it's not all about the money. It's about what I can do with the money. Like I can employ somebody else and I can employ them well enough. They get to buy a Lexus and their dream house and I start like seeing that trim away and I start feeling unfulfilled. And then I look at my day-to-day activity and it's like, oh shit, I'm distracted again. Where I make money is insurance. Like I can make $1 million, $2 million a year, 10 hours a week if I just stay like focused and consistent. The money is stupid. We get paid so well,
dude,
to do benevolent things.
What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Excited for today's podcast, man. We haven't got to do a podcast in person yet. I was on his podcast for about 2.5 hours, the longest podcast of my freaking life, but I enjoyed it and actually got a chance to spend some time with the dude that I'm about to interview today. The first time on the channel, which is crazy because he's been doing some amazing stuff for years. Respect for what he has going on and excited to have him on. So please welcome, man. Like, dude, freaking, I think about this guy. I'm like, okay, he's himself. He's got a fun personality. He's a direct individual, crushes with IULs, helps agents and advisors make more money. So please welcome Mr. Carson Porter.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Dude, appreciate you being here, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. We'll see. You might regret it.
Dude, you never know, right? I mean, it's not live yet, right? No, just kidding, right?
No, it has to go. Once you record it, you have to post it.
Amen. Cool. And you know what? On that note, from a content standpoint, this is kind of funny. Like so many people, they record content, but they never actually post it. That's a real thing. I had a lady in our office. She recorded videos on her phone and she's like, I'm like, have you posted this? She said, no. I said, find the one video that you think is good enough to post, and just let me look at it. Well, then I went and posted it on her Facebook without her knowing. And then she wrote 2 policies in the next 24 hours from stuff she had in her phone that she didn't actually put out in the world. I feel like you've leaned into content more than the average individual in our industry by a long shot. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I just post it. And so my thing with content is I try and stay authentic. Sometimes I'm too authentic and it becomes counterproductive.
So explain that. Can you be too authentic? Like talk through that.
Yeah, because like authentic me, I want to be the same. And I wasn't always this way. When I first started my career, it was white shirt and tie. Let me pretend to be something that I'm not all the time. And
I get that.
It almost felt like selling my soul for $1. And so as I came out of my shell, it's like the pendulum swung too far the other way. And it's like, oh, it's the dude you can hang out with at the bar. Right. And so when I had an issue with somebody or something, I was just all out there. And I still lose my cool sometimes and really go at it. But there's been a lot of times where it's like, hey, I might be sending the right message to the right person, but it's on the wrong platform because there's a lot of people that didn't need to see that or hear that. And they were really tuned into me for this and they tuned out because of that. Right. 100%, so 100%. Less about like the actual content and more about the delivery, like who, where, when, and how. I think is a big thing. But what I've learned on top of that, or I guess to complement that to some degree, is just for the most part, post it. Like if you have the who, what, where, when kind of dialed in and you're comfortable with that, post it because you don't know what people are interested in. You don't know what they're feeling like that day. More and more people are getting away from the really buttoned up, the Alex Hormozy type captions, and they want it a little bit more of a raw feel. And then you come from all these different angles. So like I could say the same words in a video like this and it's going to hit this group, but have that video come out like that and it hits that group. But at the end of the day, it all acts as a filter. And that's what's been cool for me is, everything we do, whether it's selling insurance or teaching agents or whatever, I don't deal a lot anymore with crappy clients on either side of that coin because they're so in tune with who I am already before they come into my pipeline that they already know, like, if you F around, you're going to find out. And then also at the same time, like, these are Carson's values. So if I don't reflect those values, don't DM him in the first place.
Totally. Yeah. You never know what somebody's going to respond to. I mean, we have like our team was super happy with Ultimate Agent. season 2. And most people were like, man, it was amazing. But we had some that were like, dude, it was super produced, like it could have been less. And I'm like, well, that would have saved Keith like 7 months. That's amazing. Right. However, you really never know when it comes to content. And I like that you're you, like, cause dude, we could totally hang out at the bar, like you're someone I would want to hang out with at an event, hands down, for sure. Most people bore me and put me to sleep. Like I will not fall asleep on this podcast. It has happened before, but it won't happen today. Right. And so I think that's what's cool about you is you found out who you are. I think there's a huge lesson in this for the audience. You figured out who you are and you're leaning into it and you're unashamedly you, like I like you cursed on your podcast. I didn't. Right. But it's your podcast. You may a little bit today because it's authentically you, which is okay a little bit, right? And I like that you're like, hey, I'm going to try to trim it just because of your audience and who you are, which I love. I think that's awesome. Like I think our industry could use more Carson Porters. Does everybody like Carson? No, but dude, plenty of people don't like Cody either. And half the time, I don't even know why. You know what I mean? Like you said that on your podcast. You're like, hey, I've always heard a bunch of stuff. I wasn't sure if I really liked you, but dude, after we spent 2.5 hours together, you're like, we both said like, Carson's a good dude, Cody's a good dude, right? It's cool. I also have an idea for you, but once this is over, remind me, I have an idea for you after this. On that whole thing we talked about before, I had an idea now that we've been talking. How cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm excited to hear it. But yeah, I think too many people get too in their head and then they get too serious. Like one of my favorite people on earth, he's actually become a very close and dear friend over the last 10 years, is Van Miller. Van's pretty well known throughout the industry.
100%.
And
David McKnight called him, Van, the Michael Jordan of life insurance.
Yeah. We had both David and Van out at our event in Scottsdale in January. Right. And got to hang out with both of them. I've hung out with Van before. I partied in Vegas with Van.
Van still parties? How old is Van?
Oh, dude, he's the funnest to hang out with. He is the most fun.
No way.
Oh, dude, it's absolutely
that's
hilarious.
Awesome. I would have never thought that.
But Van, dude, when he's talking from stage, you can see it from him. But in Scottsdale at our event, he mentioned something that I feel like it struck a chord. It was a good reminder for me, but it struck a chord with a lot of people just kind of following up. And what he said was, he's like, I don't care if they say no. I'm out here having the time of my life, and it just kind of hit with a lot of people. It's like insurance agents take it all way too serious. So they go to these conferences or they get around other agents or they get on a podcast and they're like, well, let's talk about the ABCs of an illustration. It's like, who gives a flying F about the illustration? Like, I want to talk to people.
Yes. Dude, I think that's why the 8% Nation brand has grown so much over the years is I guess I can say this because my podcast, we don't let carriers speak. I vet everyone's presentation. It's more about education and entertainment than like true, like boring insurance stuff. Like, dude, young people don't want to hear about, you're right, all the carriers and freaking underwriting and like, dude, that just bores people nowadays. Like our industry is so much more than that.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of relevance to it, but it's like, man, there's a lot more you can do to have that conversation about good underwriting practices than just,
correct.
Well, if you'll call in and check on your policies.
Yeah. Well, and you can learn all of a bunch of that on like a weekly carrier webinar, for crying out loud. Right. For those that don't know your story, dude, who is Carson Porter? How'd you get to where you are?
I ate a lot of food, and that's how the pounds came on. It was the food. It was whiskey.
Food, whiskey, slept every now and then, partied with Van.
No, I came out of automotive repair, made the transition in like late 2014, opened my business in 2015.
Wow.
And started as a captive multi-line agent, starting an agency with American National Insurance.
I thought you started on the PNC side. Yeah, that's wild.
I did. So I did home, auto, life, and my agency at the time was in Utah, really premium low state. And the new agent program I started on was like $2,000 a month. But I had all this stuff. I had a business go sideways with some family before that. And so I've got like, $8,000 a month in bills I got to pay just to stay afloat. And our new agent program was like $3,000 a month if you hit your PNC incentives. And so right off the bat, I started tanking. I almost went bankrupt. Had foreclosure notices taped to the door, kind of all the shit. And my wife and I were close to divorce. We were just fighting about money so much. And I was like, I got to figure this out. So I'll spare you the long story, but I figured out life insurance. Like if I sell it today, I get paid tomorrow. And if I sell $1,000 premium, I get paid $600, $800, $1,000. At this point, I get paid $1,500 for that same $1,000 policy. And so I just, really doubled down on life insurance, ended up being a top 3 producer for American National for 5 consecutive years before I left and went independent.
Wow. I spoke at their national convention.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you bumped me off the damn list. I'm just kidding. Patrick, not Patrick. Patrick and I get along. It was always Shannon. Shannon doesn't like me, but.
Oh, that's funny. Were you going to speak at that?
I doubt it.
Dude, you would have probably done a better job than me.
I doubt it, dude. I doubt it. You bring it. I'm still on my journey of figuring out how to communicate the message I'm trying to share. But, I talked to a few folks, Melissa and a few folks about it like 6-8 months before, but there was never any follow-up. So,
well, you would have been great at it. I think the only reason they got me in there is I'd spoke at NAFA and they had seen me there. I think you did
a great job. I heard lots of good feedback. I have lots of good friends over there still. So
awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Lots of good friends over there. But
leaning into real quick, leaning into who you are and finding your real voice is not an easy journey, especially when you get out of are you still selling day to day or no?
Day to day, no, but I still sell. So I don't make money. Like I have this mastermind. I don't make money on it. I pay my team and I want to pay them well. And then we take 100% of profit and drive it back into the mastermind. So I pay all my money is made through selling insurance. I don't grow it downline. I have a small, intimate team. We focus on advanced markets and retirement. And that's what we do. So it's not day to day, but I probably sell 10 hours a week. At this point.
What did you sell last year? How much you been selling?
Last year was my lowest year in the last 7 or 8 years because I got too distracted with the damn mastermind. But pretty typically 1 to 1.5 in target premium life insurance.
Jeez, dude.
5 to 7 in annuities.
Freak. Maybe I should start doing that on the side. What do you think about that?
Go for it.
If I could just do 1 to 1.5, for 10 hours a week.
Dude, that's the thing.
I don't think I'm as smart as you, though. I
think you are. I think you're a lot smarter than you let on, Cody.
I don't know.
I think you're smarter than you let on. No, dude, that's the thing. Insurance, it's boring. Nobody ever woke up horny in the dead of night and they were like, oh my God, I want to sell insurance. Oh! But I don't know, maybe somebody did. There's a fetish for everything, but I
guess there is.
So there's times I get bored of it and then I get distracted, but it always comes back to I start feeling unfulfilled. And then I look at the bank account. It's not all about the money. It's about what I can do with the money. I can employ somebody else and I can employ them well enough. They get to buy a Lexus and their dream house and I start seeing that trim away and I start feeling unfulfilled. And then I look at my day-to-day activity and it's like, oh shit, I'm distracted again. Where I make money is insurance. I can make $1 million, $2 million a year, 10 hours a week if I just stay focused and consistent. The money is stupid. We get paid so well,
dude,
to do benevolent things.
There's 2 areas I want to go that from what you just talked about, because I think the title for this video is how to sell $1 million a year of life insurance and work 10 hours a week. I think that's a good clickbaity title, but it's true for you, which is sick.
I thought you were going to use the word horny.
Yeah, well, Dylan, he says that may not be on brand, so I don't know. What I'm thinking about is before we get there, though, is you mentioned about get distracted with the mastermind, right, dude? Agents distractions is such a core piece of why they aren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and why 92% fell. Right, ridiculous. Talk about that. Because man, there's always something they would rather be doing than freaking prospecting or selling.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. Agents don't understand what the job is. They think the job is take good care. And in fact, I think Grant Cardone has the perfect. I think it's in 10X. He talks about it a lot. what the hell is the point of having the best customer service if you don't have customers to service? Like, it's
Amen, brother.
impossible to have the best customer service. It's like, quit worrying about taking your clients cookies, quit worrying about like all this other shit. Your number one job is sales. Like, you should be an insurance agent. The most successful insurance agents I know are the best marketers.
Yeah.
And hands down, they're not the best salespeople. Most of the time, they're not the most intelligent. They aren't the most analytical.
Yep.
You know, the good salespeople, the analytical people, a lot of those folks find a way to get successful in this, and they'll make a couple $100,000 a year, maybe even $1 million a year. But they're not the ones growing a $10 million agency. They're not the ones like seeing $1 million plus in revenue take home. They're the ones who see that are the marketers.
Dude, I completely agree. I resonate with that so much because everybody's always preaching sales. Like, there's a lot of sales trainers like, dude, if you learn how to sell, your life will change. The problem is if you don't get in front of anybody, it doesn't freaking matter how good you are.
That's it. And so that's
marketing is senior to sales, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of people that are more intrapreneurial, and they just need to plug into a system and get told what to do, and then use their sales skills on somebody else's marketing system.
Dude, that's how I feel about it. It's like, in this business, the compensation is so stupid good.
Yeah.
You can suck at sales. You can suck at service. You can suck at all those things. If you will just be a good marketer, run appointments, and then follow up, right?
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
You can have a 6-figure income and not work more than 40 hours a week ever.
Say those things again. They need to focus on
marketing, run that first appointment, and follow up. That's it.
Which is something that you do very well, clearly.
That's all you have to do. The cool thing is this too, like, everybody's worried about getting good at sales. And if you would just go like, I want to be perfect at sales before I run 5 appointments, like, you idiot, if you just go run 100 appointments, you'd be so damn good at sales, you're going to close more anyways. And you'll make money along the way. Like, let your pipeline start paying you. Quit paying for your pipeline while you invest in something that didn't matter at the point of business you were at.
Totally. I love that. Yeah, I love that. So, also, what tats are on your arm? I'm seeing the whole sleeve working there. You know?
Oh yeah, just a little bit of everything. Most of it's what would you call it? Kind of Greek, black and gray realism.
Should I get a tattoo?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna have to ask that for our audience as well in comments. If you're this far in the interview, you should have made it this far because we're about to get to the.
My last buddy I took to get a tattoo ended up getting a rubber duck on his butt. And then he went back for a follow-up appointment and got bubbles. So
not doing that. That's amazing. Yeah. Way to go. What's your buddy's name?
Caleb.
Way to go, Caleb, man. Amazing.
Good,
all your life, you way to get a tat, and you got a rubber ducky. Congratulations.
Dude, yeah, I know. He knocked that one out of the park.
Hey, okay. So how do you work 10 hours a week and write $1 million a year in life insurance? What does your week look like? I think you guys
so first of all, I work a lot more than 10 hours a week. I just work 10 hours a week at that.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So first of all, I've got established marketing in place, and to do what I do now, but be starting up at it, I couldn't do it in 10 hours a week. It'd take 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like, the longer you are consistent at a productive thing, the easier it gets and the less time it takes. It takes less time and money for the same result. Right. So I have, my established, I call it a strategic marketing plan that I follow through with every single day. And it doesn't take a lot of time per day at this point.
How much time?
15 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
But again, it doesn't start like that. So when I'm teaching a new agent who they have nothing better to do, they're like,
15 to 30 minutes a day to
this point,
prospect and market.
Yeah. At this point, but figure like I've built on years of consistency. So what I teach agents, like, you need to have 3 things that you do every day for marketing in the beginning. And they're always going to come back like, oh, I don't have time. Well, what the hell are you so busy with? All the success you're not having? Shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Stop it. Spend 3-4 hours a day marketing. The first thing you're going to do is I call it a green activity. If I do it today, I can get paid today. The only 2 ways to be green are, number 1, hand-to-hand marketing, like knocking doors, going out to the strip mall and shaking people's hands, inviting them to do business with you, right? Or
do you
pounding
think that
leads.
still works?
What's that?
Do you think that still works? Like a lot of those old-fashioned things?
I made my first $1 million knocking doors, so.
I definitely did a ton of door knocking. I didn't do business. Did you do residential or business, or what'd you do?
We knock doors for homeowners insurance, even though like
Homeowners insurance.
Homeowners for me in Utah at the time, like my average policy was $500 a year, which means I make $50 on it over the course of a year. So it was
Dude, you were in the door knocking capital of the freaking planet too.
Oh yeah, dude. I didn't know. I was so desperate for a paycheck, and I didn't have money for leads. I didn't know how to do it. My upline wasn't really teaching me. And so I was just like, well, I can guarantee if I go meet somebody on their doorstep and put my hand in theirs, look them in the eye, tell them what I'm up to, and invite them to give me a try. If I do that 100 times, I can get 5 or 10 to say, sure, I'll give you a try, right? Every day. And so we just did that. We knocked for homeowners, cross-sold mortgage protection, and then upsold IUL and annuity.
Wow.
And that's all we did.
Crazy.
Like clockwork.
That's wild.
And made my first $1 million doing that.
No big deal.
But
what year was that in the industry that you made your first $1 million?
3. Year 4 would have been.
Dude, either way, that 3 or 4, that's quick. That's awesome.
So,
what makes you so much more special than everybody else that's like trying to get to $1 million eventually and never do? 96% of companies, right? Don't get to $1 million.
I hope everybody listening to this listens to this one statement. Freaking nothing makes me special. Like there is nothing. The difference is I did the work. I didn't do work. Everybody seems to do work. I did the work. So like,
though I think that's that's my favorite nugget so far. Everybody does work, but I did the work. Explain that.
That's it. So it's like, oh, well, I spent 5 hours servicing my clients. That's great. I ignored mine. I freaking ignored them that first few years. I had like 3 marketers and sales associates before I hired my first CSR. Why? Because it's like, well, shit, I can do the policy changes. And if I just don't have the phone calls with my clients, that's the time consuming part. I make them text or email me. I can do the policy change and whip out a full day's worth of service in 30 minutes. So I'm going to keep my service level here, and I might lose some clients over that. But what do I care about the one going out the door if I brought 5 more in that day? And that was the focus. And it wasn't until we hit a point of profitability where it was like, okay, now I'll invest in retention and those things. And frankly, I was told I was stupid. I was told I was an idiot by my upline. You got to have a CSR first. Thank God I didn't do that. I probably would have been broke and filled out and gone back to fixing cars.
Jeez.
Like,
wow.
Just saying.
So you focus more on IUL now though?
I do a lot of IUL. I do a lot of whole life. I do a lot of annuity. And
but you don't think an IUL is a one size fits all? No,
hell no.
So speak to that, because I'm going to get a bunch of freaking agents that are get on this, because we talk IUL and then they're going to think that they sell IUL to the broke person, the rich person, the person that has a ton of retirement, the person has no retirement. Like you see it. Like I think
that's what I was taught too. Yeah.
IUL is becoming mainstream. I think that's cool, but there's going to be a lot of agents that like probably don't position the IUL correctly.
I think IUL is a good tool in the toolbox. I think over the years,
I know our buddy Tracy is going to love this part of the whole podcast.
Tracy and I talk a lot about IUL. I think it's a good tool in the toolbox. Yeah. I think over the years, since its inception, actually just learned this the other day. I was always under the impression IUL was incepted in 1997 by Transamerica. No, IUL has been around since the 60s.
Whoa.
But yeah, it wasn't offered by any major platforms until the 90s. But as regulation has increased, frankly, it's become a much better tool. And being a better tool, it's expanded its capacity to be a good tool. But that said, it's a tool in a toolbox. So is whole life. So are annuities. So are equities. So are private placements. So is real estate. Anytime. What's crazy is this. Folks go their whole damn life hearing, don't put your eggs in one basket, and like nodding their head in rigorous agreement. They're like, oh, hell yeah. No, not one basket. And then they get their insurance license and they're like, not one basket unless it's IUL. Right. And it's like, when did you wake up and decide to become an idiot?
Yeah.
It's not the right tool for the job. So there's 2 sides of that conversation, or 2 types of agents. Number one, there are IUL agents and there are non-IUL agents, or agents who don't use IUL or use it only sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
So
But
one
in
agent,
that case, in both cases, they're just pitching the other product. No IUL, pitch whole life. Yes, IUL. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's it. So it's like you have the product-based agent and then the holistic agent. A holistic agent doesn't look at a problem and try and see how IUL solves it. A holistic agent is going to say, you know what, flat out, IUL is not the best option for this. Let's look at this other product or this other design or whatever, right?
So in what cases
that's
is an IUL not the best fit, in your opinion? If you had like summarize a couple examples, maybe.
Funded under $200 a month.
So under $200 a month, you should not have an IUL.
200 a month. So anything under 200 a month, I'm looking at whole life. It wasn't always that way, by the way. I was taught, hell, they'll commit 25 a month to it, do it. But 200 a month, that's where it really starts looking good, frankly.
Because it's like they're funding it for income and retirement, and they're not going to be able to actually take out as much distributions because it's not there, or the cost of insurance is too high. Like, I don't understand this like you do. I'm just...
Yeah, so standard cost basis on the policy. Your policy is built, you have a base policy cost, and then you have all the extra charges stacked on top. Like the more insurance you have, the more charges. The more cash value in, the more charges, right? But that base policy cost, it's X amount of dollars a month. And it's just like buying mutual funds. If you know your premium load on mutual funds is X amount of dollars a month or X amount of percent, right? Like 5%. Plus your agent charges you a minimum, or your advisor charges you a minimum annual fee of X or X percent, whichever is greater. Plus, so you start giving them 50 a month, but it turns out just to meet their minimum fee base, 45 a month is going to fees. You're never getting anywhere. And IUL is very similar in the way that the schedule of fees are built. Frankly, whole life goes further, faster, under 200 a month most of the time. Now, there's always an exception to the rule. One of the problems agents get caught in is they hear about the exception to the rule, and then they start justifying everything. And they're like, well, but I will tell you this, I can count on less than one hand the number of people I've met in my life who have built a career, a productive career and an ethical career based on selling to the exception of the rule, right? You have to sell to the rule of thumb. And when the exception to the rule pops up, you use that exception. So there are times and places where it could make sense, but most of the time it doesn't. It just doesn't. So, so that's one of those instances.
Which way do you like being interviewed or interviewing? Or super random question, but
I'm good either way.
Which one did you enjoy so far? Interviewing me or me interviewing you?
Both.
If you had to pick one.
I don't know. I enjoy them both.
Oh, here we go. He's not going to give me an answer. He's going to be that guy.
No, I really enjoy them both. I don't see it as much as an interview as much as I see it as like a conversation.
Yeah,
so,
both have been really good conversations. So I like them on them both. I enjoy being interviewed more, so I enjoy being on yours more. Maybe that's selfish. I interrupt people too much, so like my team's like, you just like to talk. I'm like, I can't help it. You know, it's like, or I'm all over the place because we're having a conversation, right? I mean,
yeah, no, I'm good with it. I don't mind being cut off. Like, I really don't. I like to see it a lot more as a conversation, frankly. So,
yeah. Where would you like if an agent? Gosh, I wish I could keep. It's already been 30 minutes, and we're not going 2.5 hours. But I could easily keep talking. However, I do have another meeting waiting in a few minutes, but I would love to bring you back at some point. For those that would love to keep following you, what should they do? Where should they go? Where would you like to send them?
Yeah, I do. So I like the Facebook platform. Instagram is my least favorite platform. I'm on it, but I don't do shit there.
I'm the opposite.
I know. I just can't stand Instagram. It's a clunky piece of junk.
Facebook's like for 97-year-olds, bro. You know?
I am 97.
Or these Facebook groups.
Yeah. So just come follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I do a little on TikTok, but honestly, not much.
You do any LinkedIn or Twitter?
Don't use Twitter. I did a little bit for a minute, and then
I don't either.
Just don't love it. Facebook is where I do most of my stuff. At CPorter389.
You're very active on Facebook. Yeah, you are.
So at cporter389, we have a free Facebook group for insurance agents called Winning at Insurance. It's the at symbol. You're not going to be recruited. You're not going to be sold to a whole bunch. It's value without expectations. So
I love that. What's it called again?
Winning at Insurance. And we use the at symbol instead of the word at, just to make it confusing so that we don't grow.
I love that. Is that like a point of frustration for you, or you're like, gosh, we should have done this different? But
sometimes like my biggest point of frustration with the thing that we're building is definitely growth. But that's always been like when I had my auto repair shops, growth was my frustration. My agency, growth is frustration. I just want to see things grow faster so I can get to the next project. But the reality is it takes 3, 5, 10 years to build something significant. And if you can't get on board with that, then, go do something else.
Yeah, always. Well, dude, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the channel. Thanks for sharing. We could do a whole event together, freak, as much as you're selling and as little time as you're selling it. Super efficient. Respect what you're doing. Love hanging with you. And I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Appreciate it, dude.
Okay. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. You're awesome. Okay. Thank you guys for listening to the Power Player Podcast. As always, if you made it to this end of the podcast, I've started doing like some unique things at the very end. Here's one thing I want to do to reward you for hanging around for 30 minutes. You should have, because the freaking bombs Carson's been dropping. We have been promoting our CABOOM Leads platform a ton, and I think we had 19 orders yesterday. It's been blowing up. If you got this far in the podcast, use coupon code YouTube at kaboomleads.com and get 10% off your very first order. You guys are amazing. We appreciate you listening to the podcast. Let me know who you want me to interview. I don't care if it's freaking Trump, Bezos, Elon Musk, whoever, maybe or maybe not Joe Biden. Either way, we love you guys. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.